Good time of day, guys. My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Ch.5 Meakashi. Last episode, Shion started her rampage by killing Oreo and throwing Mion in jail. That was very great and not at all disturbing. So, yeah, we also talked about the most recent episode of Go a lot last episode, and while I probably have things to say right now, I don't really know how to be coherent about my thoughts with this last episode, or thinking about things moving forward, so I feel like I'm just not gonna talk about it until we get more info next episode, because I don't think I have anything else to say that wouldn't waste your guys' time, so we're just gonna jump into the episode and, you know, read. Let's do this. I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi-kun was in the dream. He was leading his normal, everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Irie and I acted normally around him because we knew that's how mature people should act. We welcomed him back, as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Satoshi-kun. 3 strikes already. I'm cheering for you. Then Satoshi-kun pouted as he mumbled, "Oomph." I felt tears pouring down my face. Ah. Sniffle, sniffle. Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun. I can't do her freaking crying justice. I'm sorry. Not right now. We just started this episode. I can't jump right into that. The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. A dream is a dream. I wished I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. We live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, because I felt like Satoshi-kun was right beside me. Satoshi-kun? Did you come back? There was no reply. That was the rule. If it was Satoshi-kun, I wish he'd smile at me just once. But Satoshi-kun's presence faded away as if he were never there to begin with. I heard the phone ring by the front door. Ah, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it, actually. But I was still half asleep, and all I could think of was answering the phone. Did we do Mion voice, then, I'm guessing? Hello, Sonozaki residence. Oh. Sorry to call you so early. It's Kimiyoshi. Is your grandma still sleeping? It was Uncle Kimiyoshi. She is, yes. I guess she's still tired from yesterday. I think I'll let her sleep in. Yeah, you probably should. Mion-chan, you're going to school, right? Can I leave a message with you? Sure. What is it? Let's see. There will be an emergency meeting regarding the incident from yesterday. It'll be at the Shrine's Assembly Hall starting at 5 p.m. Did you get that? Yes. I'll give her the message. As soon as I put the phone down, it rang again. Hello, Sonozaki residence. Oh, good morning. Sorry to call you so early. This is Kasai. Is this Mion-san? Good morning. Is she gonna keep doing the Mion voice? Kasai-san. Good morning. Is Shion-san still there? I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no, or I could play both Mion and Shion. Shion was washing her face just now. I'll get her for you. I decided to play 2 parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again.
Kasai? Morning!
Good morning, Shion-san. Are you going to school today?
Of course not. I feel miserable.
I kind of expected that. By the way, how are you getting back to Okinomiya? I can have someone come pick you up.
I think I can get a ride from Uncle Kimiyoshi or somebody else. Don't worry, I'll figure something out.
Your father told me to make sure you go to school often enough. I'd appreciate your cooperation.
I'll go when I feel like it. By the way, Kasai, did you hear?
What about?
You know, the incident from last night.
Yes, I have. How truly horrifying.
All the past victims were war criminals from the dam conflict, right? But it's different this year. What do you think about that?
I don't really know. Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
Do you know why those two fell under the curse of Oyashiro-sama?
No.
I heard this last night. Supposedly, they snuck into the ritual storehouse during the festival. They used a metal wire or something to unlock the door.
Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims just for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic. I see. That was stupid of them.
Since Tomitake-san was an outsider, I bet he didn't know.
I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said.
By the way, Kasai, actually, I did it too.
Did you go in?
Yeah.
You went into the ritual storehouse, Shion-san?
Yeah. Takano-san invited me. Takano-san, Tomitake-san, and remember Keiichi, who just moved here recently? Him and me, to make 4 of us.
I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before. Shion-san, don't you remember what happened last year? How do you think you can take care of this?
Last year, it was 3 nails, so maybe 5 this year. Sorry, I wasn't trying to make light of the situation. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I regret it at least a little, but is it really that terrible a thing to do?
You are related to the Sonozaki main family. Do you really think people would understand?
But I've been living in Okinomiya all my life. Since the old woman hated me, I've barely been to Hinamizawa. Besides, I was stuck at school. How would I know about any of that?
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be useless. Shion-san, I am your ally. I want to support you as much as I can. But there are dangers even I can't protect you from. Besides,
Sorry, Sis is here, I've got to go. See ya!
Click. I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me. He, who had been my ally all my life.
Shit. Damn it.
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. They made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter. But I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was that Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to that cheap one. That was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could just cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. I'd walked on the fence around the swings of the park before, as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun because even if I fell, it was only a very short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. At that very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence at the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I couldn't step back because there was nothing behind me. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I'd ever find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I try to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead.
A dead person has nothing to lose. That means I can only go on the offensive.
I clenched my fist tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi-kun. Who did it, for what purpose, and why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I'd have to say is that she hadn't been feeling well since Watanagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case her friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I'd already told Kasai that I snuck into the shrine storage, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The last person I'd have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Mayabara. Maybe I can use him as bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan, you're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad, since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave the house. Oh boy.
Me-chan! You're late!
You waited? You should have just gone on ahead. Hey, Mion? Your face is red. You're breathing heavily, too.
Me-chan, are you not feeling well?
Rena put her hand on my forehead. Rena, your hand is pretty cold.
Me-chan, you're a little bit warm.
It's no big deal. Give it half a day and I'll be as fit as a fiddle. Are you really okay? You don't have to push yourself, you know. What's this? Kei-chan, are you worried about me? That's nice of you. I'd always thought he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought they would tease me, but they didn't.
I just think you shouldn't push yourself so hard. We can tell the teacher you had to take the day off.
I'm fine. I took some medicine. I think it's already working. Okay, now let's go. Don't overdo it, but of course, there's the time.
Huh? We need to run or we won't make it!
Wait, that was laughing, sorry. This morning got pretty thrilling. Maybe it's just what I need to shake off the sluggishness. Let's run! Alright.
President, if you would.
Everybody stand up! At attention! I'd made the same mistake before. I never learned, do I?
Do you think Mi-chan is doing okay? She doesn't look good. Oh, really? How unfortunate.
It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse. Well, you know, girls have those days when they just don't feel well.
I don't have those days. Nipa.
Great joke, guys. Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Maebara. He might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. That'd be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step into the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the three families would know about the incident from last night, but Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. That should make him aware of his surroundings, and maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was sleepy too. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I'd been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face. I thought you'd be out here. It feels better outside, huh? Mion? No cutting class now. Looked like it felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too, but it didn't feel as good as it looked. Mion, how's your cold doing? You're sleepy because of the medicine, not from lack of sleep, yeah? Actually, this is a secret, but after the festival yesterday, I got wrapped up in the party my relatives were having, and, well, I had a bit. Gulp. I pretended to drink with an invisible glass. Are you hungover? How old are you? Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried. Okay, later. I'm going back. Be careful on your way home. Don't wobble into a sewer or a brook, got it? Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom. Oh, one more thing, Kei-chan? I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around. What's up? This may sound weird, but don't think too hard about it. Well, it depends on what it is. Last night, near the end of the festival, did you see Tomitake-san or Takano-san anywhere? I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. What the What is this? Is this a song? Oh my fucking god, it is actually messing with my head. He was frightened that Shion Sonozaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Shion Sonozaki. You know Tomitake-san and Takano-san, don't you? You remember, Kei-chan, when the four of you were talking during setup the day before? I could clearly see how dismayed Keiichi felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse. I can't remember. I might have seen them. Or not. He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi-kun. Although, when it came to lying and acting, Satoshi-kun was at about the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now. I see. Then, one more question. On the same night, did you see Shion? This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed, as I'd expected. Didn't you ask me that yesterday? I think I told you that I wasn't sure if I had or not. Eh? I'd asked him that yesterday? He must have meant that Shion Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she'd had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse. Shit.
Did you? I guess I just thought I'd get a different answer if I asked you again.
Why are you so intent on knowing if I did or not? He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up at me.
It's not important. It's just that there are some people who are speaking poorly of Tomitake-san, Takano-san, Shion, and you, Kei-chan. I didn't really hear what they were saying, though.
Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
I don't believe that you were doing something bad. I just wanted to ask a bit about it, so I did. Sorry for making you uncomfortable, okay?
I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. Very nice of you. Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion, perfect twins. Notebook page 186. When I returned to the Sonozaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. It was a housekeeper. Her name was Shimiko-san. The hag had a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house.
Ah, Mion-chan, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Shimiko-san, can I help you?
Today was her turn to come help out at the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She'd called, but there was no answer, so she had been just standing there, not knowing what to do.
Something must have happened to Granny at the festival. She's been in an evil mood ever since last night. Ah, I see.
Shimiko-san tried to remember if she had done something wrong.
She isn't ignoring you. She's just sleeping. She was up until very late, so I bet she can't wake up yet. You know how she is, right? Once she gets into this mood, it'll take a long time for her to be happy again. Yes, that's too bad. I think it might be better that you don't show up for a while. Even if you don't mean to upset her, Granny might take it the wrong way. Just let me take care of it. I see. Are you sure? I'm very grateful, though. Sorry to make you do this, but could you let the other housekeepers know that they don't need to come for a while either? When Granny feels better, I'll give you a call. So let's just leave her alone for now.
Shimiko-san bowed, then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m., and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There would also be a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the 3 families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all authority figures in Hinamizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hag, who was sick. I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People shouldn't notice that Mion and the hag were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry, as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more. Then fell asleep as if someone switched me off. Bring, bring. Hello?
This is this is Sonozaki. Well, the younger one. Hello. Do you have time to talk right now?
Shion? I thought you'd be sleeping in today with a hangover, same as Mion.
What? My sis had a hangover? That's so like her.
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing 2 roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death, maybe I was getting used to this situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb. Whoops, sorry. My parents are waiting for an important call, so I can't talk for too long. What do you need?
There's something I wanted to talk about, but if we can't talk long, I guess that's that.
Then how about we meet in person? If you could show me where the library is too, that'd be great.
You mean the public library near the station? Yes, that's fine. I go past there on my way to work anyway.
We decided to meet in Okinomiya. Wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. She has a motorcycle? The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle. I tried to get to Okinomiya before he did. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster, after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either. Wow, Mion never keeps her appointments. I mean, honestly.
Making my sister the standard for everything will get you in trouble.
You're a little unsteady. You didn't get much sleep last night either, did you? Don't try to hide it. You definitely went home from school early.
Ooh, too bad. I've been at home all day from the beginning. I'm smarter than my sis after all.
Hey now, I don't think you can call playing hooky smarter.
You should finish your errand first. We don't have that much time. We're going to the library, right?
Yeah, thanks. My mom had to return some books by today. Is the library far?
No, it's right nearby.
I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. I was just going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okinomiya. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa on his bicycle. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it on time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. This was the Shishibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. After Satoshi-kun disappeared last year, I came here a lot to think about various things. This was where I first met Takano-san. I didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow, but then I remembered that she was already dead. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked through the automated door. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages. All libraries smell the same. Keiichi walked up to the return table after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him into the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This was exactly where Takano-san told me about the true history of Hinamizawa a year ago. I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony? Now that you mention it, that toy store looked like it was managed by relatives as well. Does that mean they operate Angel Mort too? I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that since Keiichi came from the city, there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling toward him.
The family is particularly strong in finance and real estate. Even a lot of members of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry either have the last name Sonozaki or are their relatives. There are Sonozakis in the City Council and the Prefectural Assembly too, since they have the Okinomiya area giving them strong electoral support.
Wait a minute. This is all escalating pretty quickly. Your relatives operate shops in downtown Okinomiya, and they're especially strong in finance and real estate? On top of that, a lot of people in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry are relatives, and there are even some elected to local offices? Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all that about the Sonozaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little too. That should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Shion Sonozaki, the successor. Then I'd change the subject, like Takano-san did with me. I'd go on to talk about the curse of Oyashiro-sama, and then the series of mysterious deaths. So then, the Sonozaki family, it's pretty famous in this area? Nope. Yep! Crazy, isn't it? A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut it into our conversation. Oishi? Why was he here? Hello! Good afternoon. Are you on a date today? What I would give to be young again.
If you thought we were on a date, then why are you bothering us, Oishi-san?
What timing? It couldn't be coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi, or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Oishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Oishi need to talk to Keiichi? It must be about the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there were plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to have seen who was last with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Oishi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this? Maebara-san, right? You're one tough guy. Two-timing the Sonozaki sisters, are you? No, I'm not two-timing anyone. Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi-kun. That aside, this wasn't going well. Oishi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Oishi took a quick glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposefully talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave or he'd continue on to something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that anyway. Damn that big fat weasel.
I'm sorry, Kei-chan. I really do need to get to my job.
Huh? Oh, you do? I realized that I wouldn't achieve anything like this, even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Oishi looked at me and grinned. Damn it. He won today, but I'll win next time. Wait, didn't you have something to talk about today, Shion?
Yep, I'll see you later. Oh, I'll give you a call after I'm done. It'll be okay to call at night, right?
Yeah, probably okay.
Then I'll talk to you later tonight. Bye!
It is very interesting seeing Watanagashi happen from, Shion's perspective. Like, even all these random little scenes, not even just the parts where she, goes ballistic. The hag's motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was the staff meeting at the Furude Shrine's Assembly Hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if it were just celebrating the end of Watanagashi. But today's staff meeting was likely going to be as strained as the Sonozaki family councils. Yes, this staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Hinamizawa. I couldn't let my guard down, even for a moment. I rested for a while at the house, then left for the meeting. I walked up the long stairs to the Furude Shrine. At the top, I saw some elderly men smoking in front of the hall. Since they had a minor fire a long time ago, it had been made into a non-smoking area. Is that Mion-chan? Hello, Kiichiro. The head of the Kimiyoshi family, Uncle Kimiyoshi, noticed me and waved. He must not have expected Mion to come alone. Normally it would have been either the hag by herself or Mion tagging along as an assistant. Granny's been in a terrible mood since the incident last night. She's been staying in bed and won't even let me get near her. They all understood how troublesome she was when in a bad mood. They smiled bitterly in sympathy. So you're here as the Sonozaki family representative, then? Has Oreo-san told you anything? Sort of. What did he mean, has Oreo-san told you anything? That line by itself didn't really explain much. The staff meeting was usually led by the mayor, the head of the Kimiyoshi family. And he'd asked me, as the substitute for the Sonozaki family head, if I'd heard anything from her. I then realized who was supposed to lead today's staff meeting.
Uncle, no, Kimiyoshi-san. Do I really have to lead the meeting today?
According to the ranking order at the family councils, any substitute for the Sonozaki family head is above the Kimiyoshi family head. In other words, I'd have to lead today's meeting. There was no way I could do that.
Ah, don't worry, I'll do it. You can just take a seat, Mion-chan. If there's something you've heard from Morio-san, just let us know, okay?
Clerk. Kimiyoshi-san, why don't we get started? Everyone's here now. The smokers put out their cigarettes and went back into the hall. The tables were set in a horseshoe shape, and I was told to sit next to the chair reserved for the chief. The seat opposite mine was empty. Considering its location, it was probably for the Furude family head, Rika Furude. But somebody had said earlier that everybody was already here. Either Rika-chama had called in absent, or the empty seat was just a formality. Knowing the subject of this meeting, I don't think that the Furude family head would even want to attend. Even if Rika-chama actually attended, she wouldn't be able to say anything. All she'd usually do at the Sonozaki family councils was draw pictures on a notepad. She would probably end up drawing pictures in this meeting too. Besides, they probably didn't want her to hear anything unpleasant. In this way, the empty Furude family seat was easily explained. When everyone was seated, the head of the Women's Association served tea. She gave me an evil look, trying to tell me to help out. I got up and did so. After that, everyone fell quiet, and the secretary stood up. Everybody, thank you for coming today on such a short notice, despite your busy schedules. Let's start with a few words from the mayor. Go ahead, please.
Please excuse me for staying seated. Ken-chan, you stay seated too. Thank you all for coming today. Also, you all did a great job at Watanagashi yesterday. The festival was a great success. There weren't any mishaps. Lots of villagers came, and I believe it went great on the whole. Let me see, how many people was it? According to the Imperial General Headquarters report, approximately 5,000 people showed up.
Wahahahaha. Everyone laughed except me.
I hope we'll continue to work together to carry on this tradition. I appreciate your cooperation.
Clap, clap, clap. An applause with only 8 people doesn't sound so great. Okay, let's move on to today's proceedings. Kimiyoshi-san will lead the meeting today. Please applaud if you approve. Clap, clap, clap. Thank you. Then, with your approval, Mayor Kimiyoshi will take over. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ken-chan. Let's start now. Sorry. Could you close the curtains?
Everyone closed the curtains nearest to them. The sun was still up, but with all the curtains closed, the room became very dark. The village chief explained the details of the incident, as well as what went on with the police. A police vehicle discovered Tomitake-san's body on its way back to Okinomiya last night. Oishi's special curse unit was standing by, expecting something to happen for the 5th time, so they responded quickly. Since Tomitake-san and Takano-san were rarely apart, Oishi got in touch with the neighboring prefectural police departments and asked them to look for her. As a result, they found a burned body of a woman in the mountains of the Gifu Prefecture, and the body was then identified as Mio Takano. Considering the circumstances, the police ended up labeling the incident as the 5th of the ongoing series of mysterious deaths. When he finished, there was dead silence. I watched to see who would speak first. Nobody said a thing. Then I noticed Kimiyoshi-san looking at me. This was where the head of the Sonozaki family would speak.
Mion-chan, has Oryo-san said anything about this whole thing?
Everyone looked in my direction. I was sure they could see the hag in me.
I'm Mion Sonozaki, acting head of the Sonozaki family. I'm here in place of Oryo, the current head. Thank you for having me.
I became Mion. I tried to become as cold and unfeeling as the Mion I witnessed a year ago. That cold version of Mion was inside of me. God, my throat. That was me. I was her.
Unfortunately, the curse of Oyashiro-sama has come to pass for the 5th time. This is deeply regretful.
Everyone was held captive by my words. I wasn't a little girl anymore. The hag was speaking through my mouth. They all heard me and trembled in fear.
Does anyone know why the curse happened again this year?
After my question, everyone whispered to each other.
I will tell you. It was because they broke the rule of the ritual storehouse and desecrated the sacred ground within.
How dare they! A few elderly men got up and yelled. The fools! I can't believe this! They deserved to be killed! Oyashiro-sama, please calm your anger.
Oh my, how did that happen? Oyashiro-sama.
This is why we hate outsiders! They just don't think! They're just too stupid! They got what they deserved! It was their own fault! The angry old men yelled even as they trembled in fear. Their sudden change scared me more than a little. Even Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was usually so gentle and sweet, became like a demon of war, cursing those who broke the rule of the ritual storehouse. It had become like a raging ocean inside the assembly hall. Their yells spun about like a whirlpool. They roared, crashed, and howled. Even while doing nothing but... Even while doing nothing but watching, I could feel myself turning pale. Mion threatened me yesterday, and Kasai had been shocked this morning. What I saw before me was similar to that. Even the sweet and gentle Uncle Kimiyoshi was saying they deserved to die. I was fearful of the sudden change in those elderly men. More than anything, the fact that they all believed that those people deserved to die for trespassing is what terrified me. It wasn't just that, of course. The real thing I was scared of was that I was one of the people they wanted dead. In other words, it was almost like they were telling me to die of the curse. If they were to find out I snuck into the ritual storehouse, it was very possible that they would strangle me on the spot. Actually, they might not kill me that easily. By then, I was certain. The people in this room were true believers in Oyashiro-sama, just like the hag. They wouldn't hesitate to murder whoever made Oyashiro-sama angry on his behalf. Even if they didn't carry out the killing themselves, they would pretend they didn't see anything. Yes, not even if my head was cut off right in front of them. Everyone here would act in collusion and say I never attended today. If they all testified that they waited and I didn't show, I'd be demoned away. It'd be far too easy for them to erase someone and have them disappear. There was no mistake. The people linking the hag and the curse were definitely here at this meeting. I continued speaking. I was Shion Sonozaki. I was on the side responsible for the curse. Therefore, at that moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. Nobody could tell the difference between Mion and me. That's what would keep me safe.
Please, be silent.
Hey! Quiet down! Uncle Kimiyoshi helped me to quiet everyone, but his tone was violent. He really scared me. Everyone gradually became silent.
In fact, it was 4 people who snuck into the storehouse. 2 more remain.
People once more became restless upon hearing that, but Uncle Kimiyoshi yelled at them again and they settled down.
Tomitake-san and Takano-san were old enough to be made responsible for their own poor judgment. As a result, the curse of Oyashiro-sama fell upon them immediately. But the other 2 were simply children. The curse has yet to fall upon them, but there will be some kind of punishment.
Everyone stayed quiet that time. They had all turned genuinely pale, trying not to miss a word I said. After all, they were all thinking that the kids I mentioned could be their own relatives or even grandchildren. They wanted to know who they were to put their minds at ease.
The other 2 who snuck into the ritual storehouse were Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Mayabara.
I could feel the air getting drier. It was so dry it almost felt like it was going to start making a crackling noise.
Shion Sonozaki has already...
I couldn't even hear the old people breathe. I took a peek at Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was sitting next to me. He'd adored Shion as if she were his own granddaughter, but she had been demoned away. I wanted to see how distressed and sad he'd look. and when I saw his face, I felt, oh my god, I felt a sensation on my back, as if my skin itself was making a cracking noise. He didn't even have an expression on his face. Uncle Kimiyoshi adored me. I loved him, and I thought he loved me too. That was why I expected him to be saddened after learning that I met with such a cruel fate. What was I thinking? The memory of his warm smile shattered inside of me. There was no way of describing the fear I experienced in that moment in mere words. He had suddenly changed into someone I didn't even recognize. Uncle Kimiyoshi noticed me looking at him and spoke. What about Keiichi Maebara?
Not yet. I had to take a deep breath to regain my composure. All 4 who snuck into the ritual storehouse will suffer the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Keiichi Maebara is no exception.
Chilling looks, cruel looks, emotionless looks, shrewd looks, and the looks of people who were about to snap. I could feel the demons chewing my words while they stared at me with their sharp eyes. I could see some of them sticking their snake-like tongues in and out. I could see flames in some of their eyes. They were memorizing the names of the intruder the curse had yet to fall upon. And so, the meeting went on. We were told not to tell the police too much, to report what they asked us, and to hold another meeting whenever something of significance happened. If something unexpected took place, we were to get in touch with either the head of the Kimiyoshi family or the head of the Sonozaki family for instructions on what to do. With those closing remarks, the meeting was over. It was already getting dark outside. Being in a valley surrounded by mountains, once the sun went down in Hinamizawa, it got dark quickly. Even if it was hot during the day, it'd cool down quickly at night. The elderly people said goodbye to each other and left on their bicycles, on their motorcycles, or in their cars. Uncle Kimiyoshi waved them goodbye and started to head home himself. I called out to him.
Kimiyoshi-san, do you have plans after this?
I called him Kimiyoshi-san instead of Uncle Kimiyoshi. He stopped. No, I don't have anything planned.
Can you stop by my house?
Does Oreo-san want to see me?
Yes. She wants to talk to you about something in person.
Okay, I'll stop by. Uncle Kimiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house. He often came to the house to have secret meetings with the hag, so he wasn't suspicious at all. I invited Uncle Kimiyoshi into the living room. I served him a cup of tea and told him I was going to fetch the hag. I left the room and killed some time down the hallway. Oh boy.
Granny will be here after she gets dressed. She might take a little while.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just wait. Uncle Kimiyoshi relaxed as he sipped his cup of tea. I sat next to him.
I think she wants to talk to you about Shion.
I mentioned my name and watched for his reaction. Uncle Kimiyoshi looked so grim. I couldn't even tell if he heard me. I decided to continue speaking until he reacted in some way.
You remember the incident from last year with Shion, yes? She became friendly with people of the Houjous family.
She was forgiven after ripping out her nails, wasn't she?
Yes, 3 nails.
Uncle Kimiyoshi folded his arms and thought for a while. Where is Shion-chan now?
In the basement.
How is she doing? Uncle Kimiyoshi sounded worried. When I heard that, I felt relieved that Uncle Kimiyoshi was on my side. His anger in the assembly hall was just an act.
She's been crying.
Mion-chan, tell me, what is Oreo-san going to do with Shion-chan?
She hasn't told me any details. As you know, Granny becomes awfully quiet when she is truly furious.
Going into the ritual storehouse, huh? Furthermore, it's her own granddaughter. That's a tough decision to make. Uncle Kimiyoshi thought that the hag must be unsure of what to do with Shion.
What do you think? What do you think will happen to Shion?
Well, I'm sure it'll be far more than just 3 nails this time. Knowing how Oreo-san is, she won't hold back just because it's her granddaughter. Actually, she might be even more harsh, especially because they're related.
Yes, she did go into the ritual storehouse. That's not something that can be forgiven so easily.
Indeed. It's sacred, after all.
But in a way, maybe it's not fair to Shion. She has been away from Hinamizawa, as you know. I'm sure she knew she wasn't supposed to trespass in the ritual storehouse, but maybe she didn't know how forbidden it was.
Yeah, that's true. Poor Shion-chan.
Other than the tattoo on my back, how would you tell the difference between Shion and me? There isn't one. There's no point in distinguishing between Mion and Shion in the first place.
Twins are proof of bad luck. One should be eliminated as soon as they are born. Such is the family precept. The hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I came out of the womb. That's how the story went, at least. In the end, the hag didn't kill me, but instead pretended I didn't exist. She forced herself to call one of us Mion and the other Shion. She adored Mion and hated Shion. My sister and I never understood why we had to go through that. We didn't care who was Mion or Shion. So one day, we came up with an idea. We decided to share the joy Mion experienced and the sadness Shion experienced. We often switched places. We were both Mion, and at the same time, we were both Shion. Adults around us tried to put different clothes on us or style our hair differently so they could tell us apart. That was nonsense. No matter what they did to us, all we had to do was switch places and nobody could tell us apart. Finally, they decided that we switched places because we were always together. On that day, Shion got to go to an amusement park. Since then, we've been separated.
Mion-chan.
I can't even imagine what will happen to Shion. Whatever it is Granny decides to do, I'm not in a position to say anything about it. She doesn't listen to her relatives.
You're right. That's something Oryo-san needs to work on.
If Shion wasn't Shion Sonozaki, she would have been dead a long time ago. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of punishment might be equal to death. Even if she isn't killed, she'll probably never see the light of day again. In other words, she'll be demoned away.
Mion-chan. Does Shion-chan regret what she has done?
Yes.
In response, Uncle Kimiyoshi tapped my shoulder and then slapped his own chest. He smiled reliably.
Don't worry. If Shion-chan feels bad about what she has done, she won't be demoned away. Leave it to me.
Really?
I'm sure Oryo-san will be furious to hear me say anything, but I won't give up. I'll explain to her that Shion-chan regrets what she has done, and I'll beg for her forgiveness.
Tears began to fall from my eyes. I knew it. Uncle Kimiyoshi was my ally after all. He said he would forgive Shion. He was my ally. I was so very happy.
Are you sure? Are you sure she won't be demoned away? Like Satoshi Hojo-kun was last year?
Uncle Kimiyoshi smiled reliably again and told me.
He was a brat of the Hojo family. This is Shion-chan of the Sonozaki family we're talking about here. Of course she'll be forgiven. Bad line. Huh?
Oh no! A brat of the Hojo family? Are you talking about Satoshi-kun? Last year's victim?
Those Hojo people. They were traitors who tried to sell out the whole village. Of course he got demoned away. He was a Hojo after all.
Huh?
The Hojo people should all be cursed. Only people like them get demoned away. Shion-chan will be okay. It won't happen to someone like her.
Uncle, didn't Shion take care of that for Satoshi-kun last year? Wasn't he supposed to be forgiven?
Take care of that? What do you mean?
Remember? 3 nails. She removed 3 of her nails. Kasai-san, Uncle Yoshiro, and then Satoshi-kun. 3 people. She removed 3 nails for 3 people.
Eh? So that was why it was 3 nails, huh?
Huh?
What?
Dude, this is fucking freaky.
Wasn't that the significance of those 3 nails?
Yeah, you're right. There were 3 people involved, hence the 3 nails. I heard that too, but...
But what?
Kasai-san, Yoshiro-san, and Shion-chan.
That makes 3.
What? Oh my fucking god, I am scared! Oh my god. What? Huh? What? I endured excruciating pain. The first one was my left pinky, then the ring finger, and then the middle finger. People held me down so I couldn't move, but I endured. I had to endure 3 nails. I didn't know which nail was for Satoshi-kun. If my middle finger was for Satoshi-kun, I'd have to endure it until the middle finger was done so that Satoshi-kun would be forgiven. That was why I endured. Even Mion said afterwards, everything was forgiven. Huh? Mion, didn't you say Satoshi-kun was forgiven? Didn't you? That's what I heard. I think that's what I heard. Or did I? Huh? I felt the air move. There shouldn't have been a breeze in that room, but I felt it anyway. The cool air stroked the back of my neck. That was when my true self stood right before me and nodded. Although there was no wind, my hair billowed. The burning wickedness buried deep inside my eyes became visible. Why do you think Satoshi Hojo-kun got demoned away? Satoshi-kun's parents did in fact try to sell out the village. They deserved the curse of Oyashiro-sama. But Satoshi-kun was simply their son. What has he done?
Mion-chan?
I'm asking you what kind of crime Satoshi-kun committed. You said earlier that he deserved to be demoned away because he was born of the Hojo family. What has he done to deserve being demoned away? Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say to the sudden question. He seemed dismayed. I didn't hear her say it, but I know. It was Shion Sonozaki's decision. She decided that the curse of Oyashiro-sama would fall upon all the Houjous.
Wait, Mion-chan! That's not true!
Didn't she decide that?
No, she didn't! The curse of Oyashiro-sama falling upon the Hojo family. I do remember talking about something like that, but we never decided that. Nobody did.
Then, why did you say, because he was one of the Houjous earlier?
Sorry, Mion-chan. That was... I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry!
That's just it. Anything that happens to the Hojo family is the curse. As long as someone has the Hojo name, nobody cares about what happens to that person. That idea has spread like a virus amongst all the villagers. It didn't matter if Satoshi-kun did anything or not, because he was a Hojo, he was filthy. That infection of an idea is the entire problem. And you all believed in that idea. You couldn't even think straight anymore. I can't, oh my fucking god, I can't forgive you. I can't let someone like you exist. People like you cornered Satoshi-kun and his family. Poor Satoshi-kun. What has he done? He hasn't done anything. He was a Hojo, that's all. What kind of a crime is that? Why did the curse fall upon him? What kind of crime has he committed?
What? I don't know who's making that sound, but okay. Kimiyoshi's upper body bent backward and fell onto the floor. That was that. I put my stun gun back in my pocket. Oh, was that sound supposed to be him? No, there, I did it. No, bring. Hello, Keiichi. Sorry, Shion. What was that you just said?
Apparently, Takano-san and Tomitake-san died last night. Takano-san was found burned to death. Tomitake-san was... well, it looked like a suicide. I found out this morning. I heard my father talking to a relative on the phone about it.
As I thought, Keiichi didn't know anything about what happened after the festival last night.
Of course it's not getting reported by the media. That's how it was in the past, too.
Keiichi insisted that unless he heard about it on the news, it couldn't be real. But the investigations into the series of mysterious deaths are done in secret now. Of course he didn't hear about it on the news.
I hear the mayor and several important politicians from the Sonozaki family put all the pressure they could on the police.
Then you mean their deaths are
going to be dealt with in total secrecy?
That's how it is. Of course, the police are still investigating. That's being performed in secret too, though. So I hear the investigation itself is very restricted in what it can and can't do. You could essentially say they're interfering with the police investigation.
I can't believe this. People died, and yet they're dealing with everything in secret.
If we break it down further, it means that no matter who dies on the night of Watanagashi, it won't go public.
That's the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard!
Kei-chan, remember how I said before that the villagers could be the ones carrying out Oyashiro-sama's curse? That's what I mean. At some point, a tradition was created here in Hinamizawa, where every year, you're allowed to kill someone on the night of Watanagashi.
Yes, that's the truth about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oyashiro-sama's curse. On the day of Watanagashi, 2 people will be killed. The perpetrators are using the curse of Oyashiro-sama as an excuse to kill one victim and make another disappear. That's why the curse of Oyashiro-sama takes place. That's what happens in Hinamizawa, and that's what happens with the curse. What Kimiyoshi said is all true. Infecting everyone with the idea that the enemy from the dam conflict deserved to die was the root of all of this. That was the system of vague commands used in the Sonozaki family, created by its head, Oryo. One thing that must be mentioned about that command system is that the person giving the orders and the one executing them didn't need to interact in any way. Though Oryo was the commander, she never gave actual orders. She only had to expect something to happen. Every single one of the family council members around her would want to satisfy that expectation if given the chance. They didn't have to be proactive about satisfying it. They could be passive too. But when the chance arose, anyone who knew Oryo's intentions could potentially become the one to execute her orders. Therefore, Oryo would never know who actually executed her order, and none of the relatives knew it either. But they all knew things would conclude just as Oryo wanted, and they could assume it was one of their own who did it for her. This passive support system was thoroughly effective, and it spread all over the village. Its ties became even tighter after the dam conflict. Anyone could be the one to execute Oryo's orders. Therefore, everyone supported each other. If someone did something, then the others would try to satisfy Oryo's expectation in different ways. For example, they'd come up with false evidence or otherwise passively interfere with an investigation. Even if they didn't know exactly who they were protecting, they'd still work together to protect whoever it was. Yes, I had finally figured out how it all worked. Phrased in a more organized matter, it would go as follows. The system of killing 2 people who are unwanted by the village each year required 3 elements. The first element was a region of solidarity. It was created during the long and unique history of Hinamizawa. The villagers' bonds became even tighter during the dam conflict. That was one of the conditions for this place to have a curse. It was an element that was already in the region, not one that could be created. The next element was having the same moral standards. This was a very important element, as the curse wouldn't have happened without it. Also, this element was created by Shion Sonozaki herself, and that was why she could claim that this system was established by her own will. Having the same moral standards means that everyone everywhere acknowledges the same enemy. Even when everyone in the village joined together, it'd be meaningless if they all didn't know exactly who the enemy was. During the dam conflict, Shion Sonozaki made the identity of the enemy very clear to everyone. They couldn't just say that they were against the dam construction and that the government was their enemy. That wasn't clear enough. The government didn't really pinpoint who the enemy was, but Oryo made enemies out of the construction site itself, and therefore its manager. She chose targets that the villagers could see with their own eyes. They were clear and easy to understand. The villagers acknowledged that everyone at the dam construction site was their enemy, and that construction site manager was the enemy commander. Using the same method, she labeled one after another as an enemy of the village, practically cataloging a list of enemies to print into the villagers' minds. Earlier, I had used the term infecting for this phenomenon. Those infected by this idea were the people unconsciously giving the orders to commit murder. When the infection spread across the village,
when all of Hinamizawa's residents acknowledged the same enemy, that's when Hinamizawa itself became a murderer. Oreo combined those two elements, a solidary region and having the same moral standards, then selected the enemy and spread that notion throughout the village. The law would normally have punished both the one who committed the crime and the one who gave the order, but Oreo's system didn't require an order at all. Oreo just had to become concerned about the enemy she had pre-selected, but that alone wouldn't cause the curse to take place. Oreo's concern was like a safety device, and even when the safety device was off, the curse wouldn't occur unless there was a finger to pull the trigger. The last necessary element was to set a date for execution, the night of Watanagashi, the night to venerate Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. On that night, the curse of Oyashiro-sama falls upon two enemies of the village, and they disappear. Everyone in the village acknowledged that as fact. In other words, if the same incident took place on any of the other 364 nights of the year, it'd be nothing other than a murder case. But if it happened on the night of Watanagashi, then it would transform into the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The idea that villagers are allowed to kill their enemies on the night of Watanagashi had infected them. The villagers were the cells of this huge creature called Hinamizawa, and each cell would be taught who the enemy was. The set date was basically a green light for whoever was in the best position to kill the enemy. That was the truth of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Therefore, the one who actually killed Satoshi-kun isn't my enemy. The one who set up this murderous system and the one who named Satoshi-kun's family as the enemy is my enemy. To use a broader definition, Hinamizawa itself and the very system of Oyashiro-sama's curse is my enemy. I already killed the hag, the one who designed the system. Kimiyoshi, the one whose job it was to infect the villagers with the system, was already in my hands. I just had to find out who else was involved, and how much. It was like pulling a weed while being very careful not to break its roots. I announced that Keiichi Maebara was one of the people who snuck into the shrine storage. I was certain that fact had already spread throughout the underside of the village. In other words, Keiichi Maebara was an object of the curse of Oyashiro-sama now. Takano-san and Tomitake-san were found dead, having been killed in gruesome ways. That was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. In that case, they could demon away two more people as sacrifices to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. The set date for the curse was already over. But just like what happened to Satoshi-kun, demoning away was allowed a little extra time. Something would happen to Keiichi Maebara within a few days. I'd wait patiently, careful to not let my enemy simply take Keiichi Maebara, my bait. Keiichi had been yelling on the other end of the phone for some time. He kept yelling that he didn't want to go into the ritual storehouse to begin with. He claimed that he was simply invited by Takano-san and me. He shouldn't be in danger because of that, he said. He was feeling a sense of crisis and tension. This was going to work. The livelier the bait, the easier it is to spot. Why the hell did you do that? I didn't have anything to do with this. What will you do? What are you going to do, damn it? How are you going to take responsibility for this? Huh? Hey, are you listening? Shut up. I've heard enough of your pitiful tears. I hung up the phone. There was no point in talking to him when he got like that. Besides, I'd already achieved my goal, which was to make him realize the danger awaiting him. I took a deep breath, then called the house of the village chief. Okay, I think I'm gonna end the episode here because a wave of tired has rushed over me. I'm sorry, but this is as good as I can make the episode. And if I continue, the quality's gonna suffer. So, yeah, this is just for the best, I guess, really. So, that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button. And if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.